Good morning. This is John from the Springs Mennonite Church, and I'm happy to be with you today. We're continuing our story about Joseph. We're getting kind of near the end, only have a couple more times after today. But today I wanted to look at a passage here. We're in Genesis chapter 41 and beginning with verse 37. And here's what we find. Joseph's suggestions were well received by Pharaoh and his officials. Well, let's stop there a second. Remember, Joseph was in prison. For 2 years, he lagged there because the cupbearer didn't do what he said he'd do. Tell Pharaoh about him. Then something happens. Cupbearer remembers him, tells Pharaoh. Pharaoh brings him out of prison. Joseph interprets Pharaoh's dreams for him. And that's why it says here that they were well received. And he asked his officials, can we find anyone else like this man so obviously filled with the Spirit of God? Well, let's stop there a second. Pharaoh recognizes that Joseph is filled with the Spirit of God. Now, the crazy thing is, which God? Pharaoh and Egypt had lots of gods. Somehow, Pharaoh can discern there's something special about this man. Now, I'm not suggesting that you and I go around interpreting dreams for folks, and that will make us something special. I suppose if it happens, great. It's happened to me twice in my life. Both of the dreams have come to pass as I explained them. I didn't go looking for the opportunity, and I certainly didn't make a big deal about it, but it did happen, and it'll happen to you probably. But what's important here is to remember who gives us the grace to know those things. So it goes on, Pharaoh says, he says it to Joseph, since God has clearly revealed the meaning of the dreams to you, no one else is as intelligent or wise as you are. You will be in charge of my court, and all my people will take orders from you. Only I, sitting on my throne, will have a rank higher than yours. Pharaoh said to Joseph, I hereby put you in charge of the entire land of Egypt. Then Pharaoh removed his signet ring from his hand and placed it on Joseph's finger. He dressed him in fine linen clothing and hung a gold chain around his neck. Wow. What a journey Joseph has gone on. From the special coat, being above his brothers, being thrown in a cistern, sold into slavery, then into prison, finally out of prison, and now he is second in command of the entire country. Now, if we go back to that initial dream that got him into trouble, which was that his brothers were going to fall down and worship him, that's nothing compared to now because the whole land obeys him. And it says that Pharaoh took the signet ring off of his finger. Most rulers in the old days had a ring or something, and that ring symbolized who was in charge. And he takes it off his finger, he puts it on Joseph. So from now on, Joseph makes the decisions for the country. Well, that's quite a promotion, if you want to use that word. But somehow Joseph has changed. He doesn't go around telling anybody how special he is like he did before. He simply goes about his business of doing the best he can. And that's what you and I need to do. Wherever we are in life, whether we're at the beginning of a career or winding down, whether we're a teenager hoping for the future or we're middle-aged wondering what an empty nest is going to look like and feel like, or we're a senior citizen who suddenly realizes, boy, I'm getting old, like me. Wherever we are, God is directing our paths, and he's directing yours, whether you recognize it or not, whether you like it or not. You know, I was talking to my wife the other day about, and my daughter who happened to come up, about what I might do when I retire. So I just kind of jokingly said, well, I think I might go back to medical school. I thought about doing that when I was younger. And both of them kind of chuckled and said, well, I don't know if that's going to work out. I said, well, I figured by the time I could start practicing, I'd be in my 80s. And that's probably a little late to start that. So I'll come up with another plan. But God's directing my life, just as he's directing yours. And if you think he isn't, well, sorry, you're wrong. He is. Even when we can't see it. And none of us can predict the future. Joseph interpreted a dream about the future, but he had no idea doing that was going to get him into a position of being head of the country. God has some immense and wonderful plans for you. He really does. Doesn't matter how old or how young. God wants us to be like Joseph, to do the best we can, to be seen as someone who's serving God, and to soar into the places where he sends us. Do you think about that? We got a couple more times to talk about this. And we got a few more side trips along the way. So come back and listen. I hope you will. I hope you have a really wonderful day. And I hope if you have a need or a concern, you'll feel okay to call us. Because we'll do the best we can, as quick as we can. God bless you today. May he do that and even more. I'll be back tomorrow and I'll share another thought.